Hey, everybody, it's Laura Eisenhower. I know it's just been incredibly interesting for, I'm sure, a lot of people. And as you see me trying to even come up with the words, that pretty much explains it. I'm very thrilled to have the guest that I have with me. He created the BioRegenesis conference that is temporarily postponed. But I just want to say hi before I read your bio and allow you to pronounce your own name so I don't mess it up. But I want to thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Thanks for having me, Laura. And my name is pronounced Jere Rivera-Dugenio.
Oh, good. I'm glad I had you say that. I would have probably biffed it. Okay, so anyway, everybody, he is a Ph.D., born and raised in Manhattan, New York City. Dr. Jere Rivera, well, he just said his name, is an inventor, quantum morphogenetic physics expert with a Ph.D. in natural medicine from the International Quantum University for Integrative Medicine in Honolulu, Hawaii. Jere specializes in advanced scalar-plasma energy technologies, quantum morphogenetic field physics, and the larger paradigm of science known as the 15-dimensional unified field physics. Currently, Dr. Jere is obtaining his genetics and genomics certificate at Stanford University. You know, that's just amazing. And I was Googling around, just like somebody has got to be working with this level of kind of technology. And I bumped into you and reached out and just had a ton of questions. And I'm so glad you're willing to join us to just bring things to the public about all kinds of things. It's very interesting, your education and background. Do you want to tell us just a little bit about, I don't know, like what really just switched you on?
That's an interesting question, and thank you for asking that, Laura. What switched me on was an event that happened 20 years ago in September of 2000, was a near-death experience caused by a massive heart attack due to a drug overdose. That was the switch on part that you're asking. So it was that point. From there on, my whole entire perspective of reality shifted from a linear, flat, two-dimensional perspective to a multi-dimensional perspective. Yeah, so it actually took a near-death experience, but that's what happened.
Right, and you have an incredible background in science, and to be able to step into this level of science that isn't limited to the science that I guess we all were exposed to in high school. Maybe we had the option to, further that or expand upon it in university, but I mean, you're taking it to a whole other level. I mean, how did that came about with this near-death experience, and can you kind of help us to understand this other level of science?
Sure. So, after my near-death experience, I researched and studied pretty much every single body of knowledge, esoteric knowledge, traditional healing modalities, energy modalities, et cetera, for at least 5 years after. So from 2000 to 2005, I was studying everything from esoteric Gnosticism, Kabbalah, traditional Chinese medicine, Qigong, shamanism, et cetera. Then in 2006, from 2012, or later part of 2011, I was actually taught by a woman by the name of Ashiana Dean, and I attended many of her workshops, actual physical workshops, and I was taught in the science of vibrational mechanics, which had to do with the science of vibrational mechanics that utilize a whole schematic of the cosmic order, through which the inherent dynamics of fission and fusion of electromagnetic energy actually took place. So it was dealing with advanced, sophisticated scalar energy mechanics and techniques that affected your consciousness, so to speak. So it was that whole experience from 2006 to 2012, which allowed me to download the initial data zip file that I brought back in 2000 from my near-death experience. So it took a while, really, but in the end, it was all worth it.
Wow, that's so amazing. And, you know, here we are with this unbelievable just virus, pandemic, end times, ascension possibilities, breathing down our neck, all these different perceptions, belief systems. The spectrum is huge. How can you help to bring clarity to the projections upon the here and now, and what is the true reality we can begin to allow ourselves to align with for our greater unfoldment?
Right. Well, you know, it's interesting because a lot of people, whether they be scientific people or people that are based in spirituality or consciousness, you know, they don't really see the true reality of the multidimensional framework of existence, which has to do with, let's just say, a multiverse, if you will. Many different levels of dimensions and cosmoses and cosmeas. So once you start to understand that this universe is not the only universe, and this dimension that we live in obviously is not the only dimension that our consciousness exists in, then we can start talking about understanding the true nature of reality. But until then, you know, you could go on your belief system that, you know, that when you die, you'll end up in heaven or nirvana or et cetera, et cetera. But there is a science to creation. There is a science to reality that only now the modern day scientists and metaphysicists are starting to understand, that there are other universes, multidimensional realities, other timelines, right, that actually exist. And we actually exist in those other timelines, in those realities. So we're a lot bigger. Our consciousness is a lot bigger than we actually think we are.
How manipulated do you feel they are, though? I mean, do the belief systems of our culture directly suppress our DNA and create this inability to uncover the hidden potential?
Okay. Forgive me if I offend any of your listeners, because that's not my intention, okay? I'm not going to try to tell you that this belief system is better than this or et cetera. All I know from my direct experiential knowledge is that your belief systems act as filters, okay? So whatever your belief system is, you will experience that when you leave your physical body upon your death transition, okay? So can your belief system, let's just say, block or be an obstacle to your conscious evolution with your DNA? Absolutely.
Yeah. So in these times, with so much breathing down our neck, how does that play in? And what do you feel when we listen to the news and things about virus, the whole nature of virus and epidemic and pandemic, and the way we as conscious beings relate to that threat? People are being triggered to go into a survival mode, preparation mode. Do you feel the outcome is a co-creative thing and it's up to the individual right now? Or do you feel like we have to deal with an inevitable situation that we have to come to terms with? I mean, like, how do we process all this in your eyes?
Okay, so in my perceptual filters, everything has to do with consciousness, right? So let's just set that. Everything is consciousness, and everything stems and originates from consciousness or energy, right? So let's just say in 2007, late 2007, something occurred in our solar system that affected the core solar gates of our sun. Okay, so at the center of our solar system is our sun, and let's just say in 2007 something was done that affected the actual the white hole black hole vortex that is at the core of every planet and every star. So let's just say in 2007, for the next 15 years, that a solar ring wave, or you can call it a solar flare, gets ejected from the sun, and it affects every single planetary body in the solar system, including the Earth. Now, 15 years from 2007 is what, 2023, maybe? 2022? 2 times plus 15, that's 2022. Okay, so that's 2 years from now. So every year there is a solar coronal mass ejection that affects the entire solar system, including Earth. So in 2 years, we will have reached the actual, let's just say, the maximum solar flare potentiality. And not many people understand that these cosmic and solar radiations affect let's just say, the viruses or the hidden viruses that are perhaps frozen in Antarctica, let's just say, that have been there for millions of years. And our bodies have no immune system for it, right? So that's just talking about the solar effect, the solar radiation, what that has an effect on the human organism and the viruses, right? Now, let's compound that with 5G, electromagnetic pollution, geopathic stress, which is the natural harmful radiation that's coming from the Earth itself. So that's a trifecta. You have the cosmic, you have the 5G, and you have the geopathic stress coming from Earth's planetary core. Go ahead.
So don't you feel like I don't want to say it's like a race against time, but as we begin to open up to disclosure, and hopefully it begins to unlock our dormant strands of DNA, we begin to unlock these mysteries that have been kept from us in our ancient history. And, it's kind of like one does not come before the other necessarily, like the chicken or egg thing, but would you say junk DNA are like the hidden treasures that we're rediscovering on the planet?
Well, absolutely. Because in reality, our whole planet and our way of living is run by what I call the death science technologies, or the death science teachings, which actually have progressively mutated our DNA, primarily our I call it potential DNA, but you can call it junk DNA. And that mutated, that mutation in our DNA entraps our consciousness, with some, we call it an electromagnetic induced state of, false beliefs, false information, if you will. And that blocks our body's natural ability and our consciousness natural ability to achieve genuine perpetual life. I call it inscension, but you can call it ascension or accretion.
Right. And at this stage in the game, the whole idea of ascension can't just be undeniably granted to us outside of ourselves at this point. We have to really discover ourselves. I mean,
right.
What can you say about how... there's so many different schools of thought, but the whole concept of ascension and so many new age deceptions, how can we address that? Okay, so let's
just first, say that in a natural, organic, eternal life solar system, ascension would be possible. But we do not live in an eternal life solar system. We actually live in a finite life solar system, thereby a finite life planet. Why? Because at the center of our Milky Way galaxy lies a supermassive black hole, okay, that all scientists know about. And this massive black hole system, you know, let's just put it this way. In 210 years, this Milky Way galaxy will become a quarantine black hole system because everything will eventually be consumed by this black hole. So all of these death science technologies are perpetuating this finite life. So ascension is not possible in this finite life reality that we live in. It's actually, we should actually be going towards ascension, or going towards the inner core stargates of our physical body. That is the ticket out of this quarantine black hole system, Laura. Ascension, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, haven't we been going into this, what you say? Wouldn't we have ascended if the death cycle didn't recycle us back into it, if it was actually taking us somewhere? I mean, you know, at the end of the day, shouldn't that teach people, if we keep reincarnating, that there's something inside we need to find?
Absolutely. 100%, you're correct. Otherwise, we would have done it already, you know? And most people don't understand. I mean, even at, let's just say, Cornell University, there's physicists that are talking about, you know, 12-dimensional that we live in a 10 or 12-dimensional reality system. When people start to understand that we live in at least a 12 to 15-dimensional time sphere matrix, and that in order to ascend, you know, those stargates have to be intact, and we don't have that capability. So this false sense of ascension that the New Age deception is perpetuating is a lie.
So what about the actual gateways, though, on Earth? When we look at coronavirus and the locations and how it corresponds to our chakras, or like, you know, the correspondence with, you know, our DNA makeup, what can we do? I mean, and we can look at that, right, and just say, this is a part of a greater growth period we need to address. Do you feel like we can transform it and still open those gates?
Well, let's just first understand there are 12...
And I first want to ask if you even agreed with the first part, but yeah, go ahead.
No, that's fine. Okay, there are 12 major stargates on the planet, but there are multiple other, let's just say, fail-safe portals that we can actually move through, or move our consciousness through, okay? And there are many stargates on this planet that are actually, unfortunately, under, let's say, distortions, if you will. So as far as it, are you asking me how these stargates, how are they intimately related to what's going on with coronavirus?
If we need to go inward, right, right, to open up the gateways, and the gateways correspond to the gateways on Earth, mm-hmm, and we see what's happening on the Earth.
Correct.
Is there a link in your eyes or significance to this location?
Well, sure, there is a link. However, I would trust, you know, because we all have our chakras, yeah? And our chakras are actually our personal mini stargates that we have in our bioenergetic fields. So sure, in a perfect reality, in an eternal life reality in Matrix, going to a stargate, on one of the 12 planetary stargates, and we had the necessary DNA coding, would actually allow us to get out of here. However, that is not the case. So our inner stargates, or our chakras, is the way out of here.
And what can we learn from the outer situation about ourselves? I mean, why this China area, and why coronavirus? And is this a bioweapon? What's going on, like, as far as the light and dark forces? I mean, I understand the polarity integration need for humans, but from your assessment, what is the deal with the origins of this and how we can best focus in on this in terms of our inner work.
Well, let's just say that do I feel that the coronavirus, which has been around for years, okay? But let's just say that this version of the coronavirus is a bioweapon. I would have to agree with you on that, or I do agree with you on that. Now, the bigger question is this. If, just put yourself for one moment, put yourself in the shoes of, let's just say, the nefarious powers that be. Let's just say for argument's sake. Now, the question is, what's really going on besides this whole coronavirus thing, right? Why would you, okay, if you were in the shoes of these, let's just say, powers that be or were, if I were them and I were to put 99.9% of the human population under lockdown, right? Everyone's under lockdown. What would I be doing? What would be the cause, right? What would be the original cause of me causing this whole coronavirus pandemic fear, right? So it's really not, was the coronavirus or this version of it weaponized? Sure it was. But really, what don't they want us to see or know? What's really going behind the curtains? That's the more important question. But most people are so asleep. They're like, okay, this coronavirus, et cetera, and this whole social distancing stuff. I mean, really, if you take the physical aspect out of it and you take a human being and you just replace it with energy and consciousness, and you're trying to separate this consciousness in their little homes and dwellings. Really, what's going on from an energy standpoint? Is there an energy vampiring going on right now? There sure is, because the whole entire collective consciousness of this planet is in fear. And that fear is food. It's energetic sustenance for those collective or beings that need it to survive. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So basically, triggering this is creating the food for another species, and
you got it.
And it creates a life cycle, which is also the kind of life cycle that we see with the abduction scenarios of taking genetic material in order to reevaluate maybe choices that were made, which we actually, I feel, are making right here, right now, if we can just take it upon ourselves. Do you agree?
You got it. Yes, ma'am. I do.
So, I know it's all just so intense. When we're all going to wake up tomorrow, we're all just, trying to just be here right now. There's a lot of social engineering and propaganda, particularly between the right and left, and who's here to help, who isn't, what, and people shouldn't externalize anyway. And I know we both agree on that. But I mean, when you see what's coming in from the outside, do you feel a lot of reassurance? Do you feel like there's a lot of truth that is finally breaking through? I mean, how supported do you feel we are without it taking off the responsibility of people to, obviously go within? What are you getting from the outside world? But like on a 3D level, when people are just answering to the basic stuff of putting on the news, there's the propaganda, there's the fear. Do you feel, though, like from your perspective, that there is something coming in that is really giving us some accurate information and really something that people can count on? Or do you feel like it's all a bunch of crossed wires and it's just none of it is reliable?
Okay, well, look, that's a really loaded question, right? So from my perspective, which is not one of a linear two-dimensional, it's one of multi-dimensional, it's all misdirection, everything that's coming out in my eyes in terms of, whether you're watching Fox, CNN, MSNBC, even One America News, they all have, they're being fed, right, this whole narrative. Okay, so you have to look or feel sense in between what's being said. So it doesn't matter what the narrative is being said in whatever network. Listen to the energy behind the words, because that is where you will find someone's true intention. So that means everything that you're listening to is a misdirectional, let's just say a misdirection or disinformation. So in other words, I don't really rely on the outside information. I really, really don't. I go inward. I go vertical meaning my connection to myself at those higher levels to actually get or feel sense really what's going on and the truth. So I don't know if I answered your question, Laura, but
oh, right. And that gives you the ability to discern, what's coming in, and and what's coming in is the best is basically a weather forecast. Nobody really has the answers. Some
Correct.
might try and predict the weather. Isn't that all one can do at the end of the day when they're reporting?
Exactly.
And
Well said.
Yeah, so, when we look at elementals and we look at DNA and we look at co-creation, how powerful are we and how much can we steer this?
We're absolutely powerful. But here is the caveat, okay? You want to play with the elementals, you better make sure that you are connecting to eternal life elementals and not the elementals that are distorted, okay? Which unfortunately, that's what many people engage with. Shamans, you name it. They deal with the elementals of this planet, obviously, because this is the planet we live on. But these elementals are not the elementals that we should be connecting to. It's the actual eternal life elementals that exist that you should be actually connecting to. And this would be a whole nother this topic of discussion. If you really wanted to affect the weather, you could do.
Right. So when we look at co-creation, it's not about, when I was saying co-creation, it's not, claiming control. It's recognizing that we do have a co-creative participant.
Absolutely.
We're participants, right? So if we're seeing a world we don't like, we can't just fall victim to it. We need to do something about it in order to begin to emerge into the realms that you're talking about, so these elementals, they're cleared these contaminations, right? And reversals.
Right. And forget about the elementals if you don't want to work at them. Just relax your body and start to work in whether it's meditation or whatever to harmonize your left and right hemispheres of your brain. Why? Because the human being has the most powerful scalar wave or scalar energy generator that's located in between our ears. And once you can actually come to a state where you're not too left or too right-brained, you can actually, according to Nikola Tesla, you will absolutely co-create the reality that you want to not just manifest, because that has to do with the light body, materialize. That's the key, to materialize something. And you can do that if your brain is in a harmonization state.
What do you feel, though, about these viruses? And so there's coronavirus, and then there's the hidden ones, like you mentioned, like Epstein-Barr. The outer and the inner viruses are just the nature of viruses. Mm-hmm. Are they here to awaken us, or are they the AI, or both?
That's another fantastic question that I really can't answer wholeheartedly because, from my perspective, all these viruses, doesn't matter if it's an ancient one that's been sitting in ice pre-diluvian for 10,000 years, or say the coronavirus. Each of these viruses have no chance when it comes to being exposed to scalar energy in terms of scalar energy and scalar waves' ability to disassemble these pathogens and viruses, okay? So if your listeners can understand the true nature of our thoughts, which are scalar energy in nature, then you could have one of the keys to combating these viruses, if you will.
So with geoengineering and vaccines and 5G and the possible vaccinations coming in for a cure for corona and 5G rollout, I mean, is this something we have to just master within ourselves to produce a positive reality? Or do you see like a major, like we just have to put up with the inevitable and just do our best and we can't affect change? We just have to take care of our own. Or is it just like, who even knows? We're not supposed to have these answers.
Right. So, if someone were to tell me, Laura, that I had to get a vaccination in order to whatever exist in this country, I'm out of here. Okay. Let's just put it that way. So,
and I'm right there with you, everybody. I'm right there with him. Hello.
Yeah. Just wait, with these real quote unquote IDs that we're supposed to have by 2021 or whatever, 2022, right? That we're supposed to have real IDs now, and that in order to have a real ID, you're going to have to somehow, some way show proof of vaccination. I'm out of here. Okay. So let's just lay that foundation. But in reality, it's all part of manipulation and population and mind control. They're going, and that, Laura. So, if everyone just starts to realize that they have the innate ability to reclaim their natural potentiality of being a being of materialization and manifestation, and that we absolutely can co-create our reality, then we can actually create a whole nother paradigm.
And that's going to take each individual to find it within themselves, and then hopefully hold that and bring that to community? Or do you feel like community needs to hold that first?
Well, no. Everyone is responsible for their own, let's say, farm or garden, if you will. As long as each and every one of your listeners tends to their own garden, meaning go inward, work on themselves, do whatever it takes to shed all the psycho-emotional trauma they have through whatever meditation or whatever techniques, and just work on their inner world, their outer reality will immediately shift and change. And then one person does that, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, and it just multiplies, right? So just everyone tend to their own garden, their inner reality, and their whole exterior world will shift.
You mentioned BioRegenesis conference. I want to hear about, your vision for the future and the things that you are helping to launch, and just where our attention is best directed.
Well, so first of all, BioRegenesis is a conference that I started, or a gathering that I started 3 years ago. And, and I did it because, I was around a lot smarter people than I, right? And we didn't have a platform to share our, ideas, our life experiences, so on and so forth. So BioRegenesis means and refers to, so for those of you that don't know, just a collection of information, experiences, technologies, protocols that promote self-healing, regeneration, rejuvenation, expansion of consciousness, if you will, right? So it's just based on the factor that consciousness is the organizing foundation of healing, right? So this year, unfortunately, we had to postpone it due to whatever, right? You know what's going on out there. And next year, we're planning to have it May 28th through the 30th in Miami Beach, Florida, at the Carillon Wellness Resort.
Wow. And I'm so grateful that you have invited me to be a part of it. I'm so honored. And thank you so much. I mean, ever since I met you, you've been nothing but gracious and helpful to my questions and really respectful to my work. And I thank you so much for that. What can you just leave people on, especially the one that might be waking up in a cold sweat and a panic, or one that might be waking up with flu symptoms? What kind of things, would you recommend in just like the here and now for just immune system and what is overwhelming on a mental level?
Right. So the key here is keeping your immune system as strong as possible. Okay. So whether it be taking, I personally take liposomal vitamin C, D3, K2, I tend, and I make sure that my immune system is operating at its highest efficiency, because the immune system is what goes after the viruses or the pathogens. Liposomal, it is a delivery system where, let's say, the vitamin C or B12 or B6 is nano-sized. So it's a nanoparticle, and it's wrapped in a phospholipid layer of like fat, right? So once you take it orally, it's so small, Laura, that it passes through the blood-brain barrier in seconds. So it's literally like taking a IV without taking an IV. So
it doesn't get destroyed by stomach acids too, right?
Correct. So, just, do your best to keep your immune system as high as possible. But the key is this, and not many people understand or know this: the immune system doesn't heal a damn thing. It is the cellular regenerative system of our body, which is a electromagnetic scalar system that we all have, that actually heals the cells. So
vitamin C would be the most important. And but as far as like consciousness, and where do you feel like heavy metals play into geoengineering, chemtrails? And do we need to be concerned and do a massive heavy metal detox, you think?
Well, look, this whole heavy metal infiltration from vaccinations, chemtrails, et cetera, that was done on purpose to cause more of the mutations in our genome. Okay, so and it all affects our lifespan, right, and our health. So you definitely want to look into some type of a heavy metal detox, right? Because you don't want to carry around these heavy metals in the body, because one,
and it could be a pretty severe reaction. Yeah, sorry.
right.
Go ahead.
Right, because it shortens our lifespan because the heavy metals in our body, it affects our mitochondria and our body's ability to actually function at the mitochondrial level. But more importantly, the heavy metals attract cosmic radiation from the solar system, and you become a walking radiation antenna. So you want to gently, okay, I say gently, look into some type of heavy metal detox. I personally adhere to a man by the name of Dr. Chris Shade, who owns Quicksilver Scientific Research, okay, out of Colorado, Boulder, Colorado. Actually, it's Lafayette, Colorado, but it's close enough. And Quicksilver Scientific, it has some of the best liposomal products out there that do gentle heavy metal and mercury detoxification.
Right. It seems like definitely something that, it's like on a person's own, because we've been so bombarded for so long. It's hard in these day and age, because people want to play doctor. They feel, there isn't a whole lot of hope. And this is what's so amazing about your conference, because the information and the people you've gathered and the kind of like science that you understand is for me the new paradigm of where we need to, or not need to, but where we can, if we so choose, begin to go.
Right. Well, look, and I'm grateful to even for you to be part of Biogenesis, because what we're doing is we're bringing together the world's leading influencers in their industry or their arenas, that we all come together towards one goal, and that's reclaiming the human potential. Right. So I'm excited for you to be part of it, and I'm excited to have you on our panel, and I'm excited for you to just be part of our paradigm shifting, disruptive technology world.
Well, I'm thrilled to be a part of it. And I know some people might wonder, why does it cost anything? I mean, can you help people to understand the money part and why that's still a factor, and how we can maybe reconnect with the money system in a way that's healthy?
Right. So, look, money is really a non-factor, because really money truly doesn't exist. It's really a fair exchange of energy. Let's look at it that way. So replace money with energy, and everything has to be a fair exchange of energy. When people come to me and say, well, why isn't your conference for free? Or why isn't this for free? Because nothing's for free in life. I'm sorry. It's all about energy exchange. And when someone or something is always wanting things for free, they are actually vampires of energy, and they're not willing to give a fair exchange. I'm sorry, but that's multidimensional laws of physics.
Yeah.
So, obviously, I understand that not many people have a lot of money. And that's why every year we do, integrative medical missions, humanitarian sessions with our technologies for autistic and special needs kids. So I understand that whole aspect of people having lack. So just remember, everything must be a fair exchange of energy.
Right. And, we're putting this information out here, and there are resources that people can get in the here and now that are connecting to what him and I are talking to. This is a conference, right? And it's supportive of shift the paradigm for the greater good of humanity and ourselves. And I so appreciate you putting that together. When do you feel or sense this madness is going to begin to wane or kind of like back off? Or do you feel, or just not going there maybe? I don't know.
No, I mean, look, everything really exists in the here and now, right? So tomorrow doesn't exist, yesterday's done. So in the present moment, ask yourself how you feel. Are you in fear? Are you anxious? Are you stressed out? The more important thing is to de-stress and relax. Do whatever it takes to relax and de-stress, because it reduces inflammation, reduces disease. And if you could just do that, that actually strengthens your immune system. You don't have to worry about this coronavirus stuff. However, sure, everyone wants to know when this whole thing's going to end. Honestly, Laura, I don't care, because right now in the present moment, I'm good. In my reality and my spirit.
That pulls one out, right? Exactly. It pulls one out. And that almost is why I asked, because people have to ask themselves, how much are we waiting on something instead of just becoming and being?
There you go. So really, it doesn't matter if this pandemic fear of COVID-19 ends tomorrow or 3 months from now, because you better have your inner world in harmony, or it doesn't matter. You're still going to be stressed out, crazed, anger, or your life is going to be a mess.
Right. So this gives us the opportunity to assess our inner world and look at the outer world and how it shows us those clues to do the work we need to do.
Right. Look at it as a chance of a consciousness energy reset for yourself. Really, that's what it boils down to.
Yes, that's so how I've been feeling, and I love it. say that again so I can think of an acronym and quote you.
A consciousness energy reset, or however you want to call it.
Energy CER. That's right. Instead of Corona, a CER.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Yes. I mean, gosh, that's so important. It is this massive transformation process. I mean, that's kind of what it takes. I mean, is it as daunting? Do you feel it's as daunting or similar to a caterpillar metamorphosizing into a butterfly? Is that the times we're in?
You know what? That is an actual excellent analogy, an example. You know what? Thank you for that. Yeah, you could say that. You could liken it to that. Absolutely. Perfect.
But it depends on the individual too. Like, what part of that shift are they allowing themselves to be? I mean, because obviously there are going to be the pieces that fall away, right? Like a snake shedding its skin. I mean, we have to decide what part of this consciousness shift are we a part of. Do you feel like hidden technologies that are going to help the human race are going to be disclosed?
Well, there is already a hidden technology that is being made to the public sector, and that's the technology that I created, called the Rasha. But, will we see hidden technologies in our lifetime? I'm sure we will. It just depends on several factors and whether or not we can. I mean, they're already out there. Okay, the hidden technologies are already hidden in plain sight. They're out there. It's just a matter of having access to it, right?
But it seems like it's an initiation. I mean, we have to be ready. We have to be ready to handle the responsibility. And also, we've been dealing with, a world that is not disclosed technologies and have been using technologies, and we are a technology. And what I love about your understanding, which to me is the science of truth, is that we're the most advanced technology, are we not? If we can wake up.
Bingo, you got it. And see, everyone is saying, well, why do you need technology to heal? Why do you need technology to affect consciousness? Well, because the human organism is one of the most advanced bioenergetic technologies ever created.
And the technologies that you support and are helping to bring out there are the ones that will help us to recognize this about ourselves.
Right. Right. Gosh, yeah, the answer, yes. Yes.
Well, I know our time is almost up, but there's so much hope. And just to leave us on any note, what can you say to everybody? First off, I want to thank you, beyond thank you, for joining us in this most critical
my pleasure,
profound time to share your unbelievable knowledge. And I've been looking forward to this, and I'm just going to listen to this over and over. But anything you want to kind of leave us on before we close, and just how can people find you, or more information about BioRegenesis and more things about what you stand for?
Yeah, so I can be reached through my website, which is RASHA.com, therasha.com. That's the easiest. Or BioRegenesisConference.com. To go back to what you asked about hope and having hope and or beliefs, remember this, everyone that's listening. Hoping and believing always leaves a room for doubt, okay? So you can hope and you can believe as much as you want, but that leaves room for doubt or insecurity. What you want to own as a original eternal life human being is discernment, direct experiential knowledge, right? You want to just know through experience, okay, for whatever that means to you. So what I'm saying is this, you might want to maybe stop, perhaps, looking outside yourselves for the answers and go inward, because that's where you will actually receive direct experiential knowledge. That's it.
What if they run into fear and guilt and shame and all this stuff that was programmed into them? What should they do?
Well, really, I mean, fear is false. Experiences appearing real, right? So fear is not even a factor. So forget about it. Just step out of fear. And like I said, all of those things, you can create your own reality by going inward and asking yourself, who am I? Where did I come from? What's my true purpose? But the most important is, where am I going once I leave this physical vessel? If you could just focus on those 4 questions, inner questions, watch the levels of vertical information and data that you will receive from your higher self. And that's it, really.
And it really is that simple. And the thing is, we're constantly bombarded. Yeah. And bring it back to this level of clarity is so hugely important. And people can sometimes blow it off. I've been called all sorts of names, woo-woo, she's crazy, everything under the sun. And I'm, that is whatever it is. But I'm a seeker, right? And in my quest for truth, bumping into you and your website and being able to share this space with you tonight has absolutely made me ecstatic. And I thank you so much for your time. And I know this is going to, really just, because people need their inspiration ignited. Without that, it's like, it starts to feel like we're dying, like internally, not just because of virus, but it's like we shut down. It's not exciting anymore.
Right. And thank you for hosting this and having me on this, on your show or podcast, if you will. And thank you for being who you are and doing what you do for humanity. So I'm honoring you as well.
Well, I thank you so much. It's important to have valid sciences and proof, and to bring, clarity and to dispel the delusions of the new age BS and also the things that have kept us in lockdown. And personal sovereignty and authenticity is where it's at. And thank you for your service to that for everybody and yourself and what it took to get you to where you are today. Much love. Thank you again.
Okay. Thank you. We'll talk soon.
Definitely.
Okay. Take care. Bye, everyone.